Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Song of the Week. I am your co-host Jordan, and I'm here with my guy, the one and only David Grunfeld. David, what's poppin'?
Large, my man. Living large, Jordan. Everything is wonderful. Just another beautiful week with a bunch of beautiful songs floating around in the universe. And I'm so excited to talk about two of them with you today and let the people know kind of what we're jamming on this week.
Yeah, are you a podcast guy? Are you
Mm,
a music guy more so in the car? Like
yeah.
what are you listening to in the car?
Great question. I actually, funny enough, even though we host and do a lot of podcast work ourselves, I wouldn't call myself a podcast guy per se. I do listen to podcasts. There are a few podcasts that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Either like I love the podcast Dissect, which is on all your streaming services. It's kind of blown up now, but Dissect is a phenomenal music podcast. But I also listen to and watch a lot of sports podcasts as we're both big sports fans. But when I'm in the car, as I say all the time, I'm from Los Angeles. I grew up driving, grew up in the car. Music almost always when I'm in the car, and it's actually a huge determiner for me of the type of music that I like. It's a big test kind of for me. Is like, can I vibe to this in the car? Driving
Yeah.
around in it. So yeah, definitely more music than podcast. I think generally in the car, but yeah, I mix it up a little bit. How about yourself? What do you kind of prefer?
Depends on how long I'm going to be driving for, right? So for me, long drives are mostly podcasts. I want to zone out. I want to think a little bit. My drives to work in the morning, I go to work super early, man. Like I'm on the road 6:15, 6:30 in the morning. And so I want something relaxing in the morning. I want something a little bit more chill. My other question would be, are you an album guy? When especially in the car. Like let's stick with the car for a second.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you hop in the car, are you popping in an album? Are you popping in a playlist? Are you switching song to song to kind of feel your vibe? What are your car rides like, especially when it comes to the music?
Yeah, great questions. I I would say of all those that you just listed, I'm usually kind of the third camp where
Okay.
I kind of have ADD or whatever you wanted to call it when it comes to music a lot of the time, where I'll listen to one song and a line or some feeling will trigger, I want to listen to this. I want to be in this vibe, and then I'll pop over to a different song. So I can be pretty scattered with it. That said, there are some albums that I kind of only want to listen to if I can really do it right. If I have like a longer drive and I know that I can listen through all the way, like Channel Orange, for example, by
Yeah.
Frank Ocean, right? Like I will rarely just pop in and like put on Sierra Leone or like pick Forrest Gump just to listen to Forrest Gump. Like I want to listen to that whole album to really get the whole experience, the whole feelings. It's kind of a mix, but I would say generally I'm pretty scattered and I like to kind of shake it up. I'll go from like a hip hop song to like an 80s pop song to a jazz song. I really am kind of all over the place usually.
Okay. Now, forgive me. I'm a little all over the place with this, but as you know, I'm back on my first date part
Yeah.
of my life, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of first dates going on. And one of my go-to first date questions is it's the deserted island question, right? If you could bring five albums with you on a deserted island for the rest of your life, what would those five albums be? And I know I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't tell you I was going to
Yeah.
do this before we hopped on, but if you what do you want me to go first while you think of yours?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you
All
go
right,
first and
I'll go first.
I'll start furiously,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
going through my head. Yeah.
All right, so Usher Confessions is always one of mine. Wale, More About Nothing. Tupac, Me Against the World is always on there. So I'm at three. I got Usher, Tupac. Oh, Michael Jackson, Bad is usually on there. And then the fifth one is always tough. But the fifth one probably ends up being it probably ends up being a New York State of Mind. Nas.
One of the absolute greatest hip hop albums ever made.
Those are probably the five. There's always a couple other that can kind of float their way in there. Like Idlewild or not Idlewild. Stank on Ya is one that floats in there from time to time. There's a few others, and
Yeah.
again, I know I'm putting you on the spot,
No, no,
but
no. I love it.
like I said, I'm on my first date. This is first date Jordan right now, and those are always one of Jordan's first date
I'm
questions.
feeling like I'm at the table and the bread
Yeah,
just got brought and like now I'm like thinking and I'm like, wow, this guy's so cool, so good. This is nice.
you would go on a second date with me, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been best friends for 15 years now, so I think yeah, I think a second date's
That
probably
warrants a
warranted.
second date. All
Yeah, I
right,
think so. We'll see. We'll see how the evening. If you
nice.
pick up the check, then probably. But
I like to go Dutch on date number
there you
one.
go. On the first one, I think on the first date that's fair. But I'm old fashioned. I've been married a long time, bro. My touch on the dating game is definitely not.
Ladies, I'm joking about Dutch on first date, by the way. Just
Jordan Bell's
okay.
a Jordan Bell's a gentleman, and he will
Yeah,
pay for your dinner. Make sure to go out with him and have your albums ready.
that's right.
I would say, and you can't because this is so off the cuff, you can't hold me to these, but I would say everything I'm going to say now is definitely in my top like 10 or 15. If I had
Okay.
a little more time, I might be able to parse down if it's like top five or not. But I would say off the top of my head, because I already said it, Channel Orange is up there. Channel Orange
Yep.
is in my top five because it's so great, and I just connected with it so deeply when it
It's a great
came
album.
out. Yeah, I just love that album so much, and Frank is such an awesome dude. So yeah, Channel Orange is up there. Definitely an Outcast album, like you said. I'd probably go with Aquemini, probably for my money.
You can't go wrong.
Nah, you really can't miss with any of them. Heavily considered doing an Outcast song today for song of the week, but ended up going with a different song. But so I'll say Aquemini. I'll probably say, and this is just this is not best albums of all time, but just favorite albums of all
Yeah, just
time.
the ones you like listening to all the way through the
Yeah,
bars.
yeah. I think not Reasonable Doubt. That's Jay-Z. Great album, but I would say Ready to Die probably by Biggie, just because it's such an iconic album. In my opinion, the best rapper of all time doing it at just the peak of his power is so incredible. I'd probably go like, man, this is so hard. Like London Calling by The Clash, probably, which is a
Okay.
very different than those first three that I
Yeah.
mentioned, but hugely influential on me and music in general. It's such an amazing group for the music they made. They were so innovative and ahead of their time and politically active and just awesome people. So
Okay.
yeah, I'd say London Calling, and then for the fifth one, wow, I probably need to include a Lupe album.
Yeah.
I'd probably
Knowing
say
you, you have to.
yeah, he's such a huge influence on my musical life that it'd feel wrong not to have a Lupe album on there. I might even put like Revenge of the Nerds too, which is like one of his mixtapes.
Okay.
But if we're gonna keep it to albums, then
I
I
mean,
would probably
I said no. I did more about nothing. That's a
yeah,
mixtape.
that's technically a mixtape, I
That's a
guess.
mixtape.
But I still would probably go Food and Liquor, Lupe's first like real album.
Yeah.
Either that, I'd say it's either Food and Liquor or Good Kid, Mad City.
Okay.
It would take the five spot because I think Lupe has had the biggest influence and impact on me as a younger person, and I think as I've gotten older and matured with music, Kenny is probably that artist for me who's like
Yeah.
really just I feel like I connect with and just love in like a deeper way. So yeah, those are the five or six I would say probably.
Yeah. Now, see, now you've got my mind rolling. Like, to Pimp a Butterfly is one that like I should probably be in there for me. Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon, and
Sure.
then we even talked about this when we were together recently. We're kind of in a spot where we're not going to show a lot of love to Kanye because he doesn't deserve it. But College Dropout was
Yeah,
the first album, the first hip hop album that changed the way I think about music.
without a doubt, without a
And like
doubt.
if I were going on first dates 5 years ago, that would have been the first album I mentioned. But
Sure.
I'm just off Kanye right now, so it's
Yeah,
hard for me to
yeah.
talk about him.
No, which is yeah, me too for obvious reasons. But I also think yeah, I mean it's that classic conundrum or that thing of like, can you separate the artist from the art? Is that doable? Can you really do that? Or if you can, how do you do that? It's complicated. But
For sure.
what you can't really debate is like the influence that it had, when it came out. And
If you're just talking about the music's incredible.
yeah, and I would put My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy up there. That's I think probably his like best album, like start to finish, and also,
That's a debate right there.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would disagree with you.
See, there you go. I think that's a great artist, does that, has multiple projects that could be the
You think
best.
that's better than late registration?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
We don't have enough time.
I was gonna say that sounds like another segment to me. That sounds
Yeah, we
like
don't.
another show.
We
But
don't have
yeah, I
enough
mean,
time.
yeah, if you gave me like 10, 15 more minutes, I'm sure I could come up with like 10 or 15 more projects that really would be in consideration. Yeah, there's just so honestly, like even Getty Green by Project Pat. I don't know if I
Yeah,
put that in my top 5 ever, but like, damn, that's an incredible album, and that's his first album. Which is like I have a soft spot for artists that make classics with their first albums ever. And like that kind of stuff is always moves me. So
I
yeah,
told you.
there's a bunch.
I told you I saw Project Pat at Memphis in May Music Fest. This would have been like 2023.
Yeah.
So Project Pat did a set, and then the closer for the first night was 3 6 Mafia. One of the best shows I've
In
ever been to
Memphis.
in Memphis. Incredible.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hard to beat that.
Ask Charles, who was on the last episode of Reboot. Some of the best pictures of me and Charles being absolutely Charles. I think that was the first time Charles was like, "Oh, Jordan is nuts." I was having such a good time at that show. I'm sure Charles was like, "Who is this dude?" Like, cause for us, Juicy J in college, man, Blue
Big
Dream and
deal.
Lean Too,
Big
like
deal. Big
that
deal.
was it
Huge deal. Yeah, absolutely. I'll say too, like my last appearance on Song of the Week, I talked about a song off an album called Dot by Wolfman, who's a
Yep,
member of Wolfpack. That album and one of Wolfpack's earlier albums, those are up there for sure for me. Like they're my favorite band currently, like playing. And yeah, man, it's music is incredible, man. It's so once you really get going on it, it's so hard to actually think about ranking them or placing them somewhere because we both have such a diverse, kind of palette, I think, and like what we enjoy and what we like to listen to. That's to go back to what you're saying about the car. It's a vibe thing, and it's about what am I feeling? What do I need right now? This album is it, I'm down, or I'm in my head. I need Channel Orange. I need Frank
yeah,
to be up there with me, Whereas like if I'm listening to Biggie, I'm listening to Everyday Struggles, and I'm in my car with the homies, it's a different vibe completely, but it's just as great. It's tough to pin down.
for sure. All right, enough of us
I
rambling.
like
Let's
it.
get
Great questions. Thanks for doing that.
yeah, yeah.
Again, second date. Check. I'm in,
That's
dude.
right.
Yeah, let's
Amen.
go. Let's
Amen.
go.
All right, let's get into song of the week. How about I start? How you feel about that?
Kick
Since
it off.
I
Kick it
put you on
off.
the spot.
No, yeah, you kick it off.
Yeah, so my song of the week is gonna be from an artist out of, I believe she's out of Staten Island, New York. Her name is Laya. Are you hip to Laya at all?
I'm not hip to Leia.
All
School
right.
me.
Yeah, so Laya, she's a multi-talented. I was reading up on her. She did an article for I think it's Lyrical Lemonade, and I was reading up on her a little bit the other day. And she's a writer, she's a producer, she does a lot of cool stuff. But she's got this song called "Sock It to Me," and it's a reinvention of the Missy Elliott and DeBrat original off of Missy's debut album, Super Duper Fly. Right, and so I love this. I love this remake by Leia because it's an ode to creativity. If you're going to reinvent a Missy Elliott song, you have to you got to come with it with the creative juices. Like Missy's out of control, man. Like if you go back and look at some of the Missy video, like just listen to Super Duper Fly. Like Missy, when we talk about female rappers for whatever reason, in a lot of the major conversations, Missy gets skipped over, even for people like Lotto and Sexy Red. And I'm not hating on them, but Missy was different, yo. Missy was different. And Leia does this incredible ode to this song and this reinvention. And she puts her own spin on the music video. And the instrumentals are bananas. Like, just a different, Missy was good with the boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, I'm sure that sounded crazy. But all the different sounds and stuff that was
Yeah.
coming in,
Yeah.
it's a dope track. And go like check out when you look at Leia, check out the music videos, check out the wardrobe and the imagery, right? It's we talked about Kendrick at one point, and we talked about especially when we were talking about the halftime show, we talked about how good Kendrick is at layering the what's the word I'm looking for, the the hidden meeting in the
Hmm.
videos, right? All these kind of little tidbits of things that you
Little
should be
Easter
looking
eggs.
for. Yeah, little Easter eggs, right? And I'm watching this Leia video and I don't really know what's happening, but it's funky. I'm messing with it. I'm vibing with it. Like I said, I was reading this interview from Lyrical Lemonade, and she talks about being heavily influenced by 90s and 2000s R&B, right? Like me and you as roommates, we talk about this all the time, how like you weren't as hip to that type of music until you lived with me, because that's my shit, right?
Yep.
Like that was
Yep.
my jam. So you listen to Leia's music, you hear a little bit of the Maya, the Brandy, the Jagged
Hmm.
Edge, the 702. Like
Hmm.
it's a dope little project. That's just a single. If you want to like hear more of her stuff and like kind of deep dive more into her creativity, she's got an EP that came out, I want to say it was like 2002, called Hello. And
Hmm.
it's a really dope EP, but my song of the week is gonna be Leia Sock It To Me.
Amazing. Amazing. I can't wait to check it out. Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds like it checks a lot of boxes for something that's going to be a lot of fun. And, on another Good People content show that our co-host Bill and I do, the Hit Cycle podcast, we've covered a number of female MCs. We've covered Queen Latifah, Lil Kim,
Yeah.
Foxy Brown, MC Light. We've done a lot of different talented ladies. And there's a reason we haven't done Missy yet, because every time we've looked at her, we're like, she's too good.
Yeah.
It's too boring to cover Missy Elliott because she's so incredible. But you're right. It's like this weird underrated MC somehow, even though she trendsetted and absolutely kicked the door open for even the Lottos and Sexy Reds of the world that you just mentioned there. Though those ladies do not have the platform that they have today without what Missy Elliott did. And then now this direct line to Leia that you're talking about, which is really, really cool. That's awesome. Very cool. And yes, there's no doubt about it. You are my R&B guru in my life, because like white guy growing up in a white household, not like the classics were always on. James Brown and Marvin Gaye, and
Yeah.
some of the more mainstream classics were always playing in our house, but we weren't getting into the deep cuts. I did not have the appreciation for Usher that I do now until I met you and lived with you, and you helped me kind of get into it. And the last thing I'll say about that is, like, I love gospel music. I love that energy, and R&B, even when it's not religious R&B, that spirit is there. That energy is in that music, and I fucking love it. So I can't wait to check out Leia's project and get down with some of that funkiness.
Yeah, no, definitely check that out. Also, I love that you just said I fucking love it after referring to gospel music. So
Sorry. I'm
it's all
sorry. I
good.
don't mean to be blasphemous to anyone.
It's
Yep,
all
yep,
good.
yep. It's
It's all
all
good.
peace and love.
Little holy water, dog.
Yeah,
You'll be straight.
sprinkle me, and we're good. Yeah, peace and love. All right, cool. Well, with that one, I'll do my song of the week, and for my song of the week, I'm taking it back a little further. Not a current song, but not an old school one. But I'm gonna my song of the week is gonna be a song called "Dirty Peaches," which is off of an album that came out in 2008 by an artist called 88 Keys.
Ooh,
Yes,
ooh,
I
I
had a
love 88.
I had a feeling
Jeez.
when I said 88 Keys, you were gonna get down.
All right.
88 Keys. The album is called "The Death of Adam," and it's a concept album, which is something that you don't see as much in today's day and age, right? Of streaming and singles and shorter songs. You don't get a ton of fully formed concept albums, with a few notable exceptions. And on this album, the most well-known song on this album is "Stay Up" (parentheses
Yeah,
Viagra)
Viagra. Yeah, yeah.
with Kanye, which when it came out, you and I, Jordan, were still in high school when this came out, but it was a big song, right? It was a big deal. Everybody knew about it. It was funny. Kanye has a ridiculous verse, and just the concept "Stay Up" Viagra is pretty funny.
For sure.
The rest of the album, not that it's not funny, it is funny, and there's lots of moments of levity, but it's actually a really deep and insightful, introspective, I should say, album about a lot of different things, about relationships, about monogamy, about loneliness, about how people deal with hard situations, especially when it comes to relationships and children and things of that nature. But it's all cased in this beautiful piano driven melodies, and 88 keys, of course, referring to the 88 keys of the piano. And he's such a talented guy, and he's such a talented producer. And this song, Dirty Peaches, he actually doesn't sing on. He doesn't, or rap on. He doesn't really feature on it as a singer. But the singer who does is a lady named Jay Davy, who I had the biggest crush on when I was in high school. Just absolutely loved Jay Davy. If you ever see this Jay Davy, man, I love you.
Holla at your boy.
And she, I am married, but I still
Yeah,
love
yeah.
you.
Well, holla at this boy.
Holler, holler, yeah, exactly. Jordan's going on a lot of dates.
That's right. That's right.
The song is sad, but it's beautifully sad, and it's done in this way that is talking about the dirty peaches, referring to people having trauma, people having things happen to them, and hoping or wishing or wondering if they're still good enough, if they're still worthy of another person's love, if they're still worthy of happiness or success or whatever it may be. But like a lot of great music, you almost don't realize that because the music is so powerful and the melodies are so beautiful that you're kind of just caught in the trance of it. And then when you slow down and you start to listen or read what the lyrics are, it's almost like a gut punch. It's so raw and vulnerable what she's singing about. And even now, however many years later, 15 plus years later, it's one of those songs that to me really encapsulates a thing that I think is like one of the highest compliments you can give a piece of art, which is that it's timeless. It touches on human emotions that existed 200 years ago and are going to exist for as long as people are around, which is those feelings that I just talked about. And it's just, yeah, delivered beautifully. Jay Davy has a almost like a pained and tortured kind of quality to her voice as she's singing, but it's done with this utmost skill and kind of dexterity as she kind of fits into the pockets of the song. Really powerful, beautiful song. Dirty Peaches by 88 Keys and Jay Davy is my song of the week. Go check it out.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love the songs that, and I'll mention this song because I don't know if I'll ever use it for song of the week, but Beyonce does a rendition of Etta James. I think the
Ooh.
song is I Heard.
Oh, yes.
That she does it in Cadillac Records.
Yes,
And
I've heard that.
you know what I'm talking about? And
Yes.
like
Yes.
the pain in the song, right? Like when I think, everyone, we had an interesting conversation with some guys that we work with, obviously you being one of them, about the idea of being a creative or not being a creative, and how we kind of talked about how we think that everyone is a creative in there in some sense, right? Like depending on no matter what your profession is. I think you gave it the example of an IT guy that you used to work with, that you were trying to break down to him like, man, you're a creative as well, it's just expressed through this art.
Hmm.
And I think like everyone that identifies as a creative is ultimately trying to find what it takes to create a piece that evokes the emotion that you just spoke about.
Yes.
Right? Like that's what
Yes.
we're all looking for, right? Like us with podcasting, like we are trying to brighten up somebody's day by just having a conversation,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Or make them think about something that they maybe didn't want to but needed to think about. And so
Yeah.
that's dope that's your song of the week, because yeah, we all have those moments where we need to take ourselves to those places emotionally. There's a previous episode, I can't remember what week it was, but Bill and I talked about that a little bit, where we talked about songs that bring it out of you. You know what I mean? Like songs that make you cry.
Hmm.
I got a whole list of songs that, especially when we started kind of thinking about different podcasts that we wanted to do on GPC, one of the topics that I was going through was kind of songs that really bring that stuff out of you.
It's everything. And you and I talk about this all the time, but like in my opinion, the ultimate purpose of art, which it doesn't always need a purpose, right? You can just do things to do them. But if you're trying to make purposeful art, people should feel something, right? That whatever that's going to be is out of your control. But making stuff that, to use your language, like brings it out of you, that's why I said I think it's like the highest compliment I can give. It's timeless because you can always access those emotions, whether you're 15, 30, 45, 100, you're in a different place in your life. You still are able to tap into what that artist has kind of given you. And Dirty Peaches does that for me. I'll also just say, I think about songs like this. That Beyonce cover is so good. That's an amazing, great example. I think of like comedy, right? And like comedy often comes like stand-up comedy, funny movies, funny TV shows, all comedy really often gets back down at the core of it to like insecurity or pain or stuff that you don't necessarily know how to tackle. You don't know how to really just face up to it. So you find ways to laugh about it or feel other ways about it and get those emotions out of you however necessary. And this song to me is, it's not comedy obviously, but it's taking on a really deep subject matter and turning it into something beautiful, and something that people can relate to. And like that's incredibly powerful, and that's worthy of recognition always.
Absolutely. And I just want to fact check myself real quick. The song is All I Can Do Is Cry.
There
That's
you
the
go.
name of the
I
cover.
knew which one. Well, yeah, she also does an amazing. This is not exactly what we're talking about because it's not really pain, but she does. I think she sang it actually at the Obama's like first inauguration or first dance. But her rendition of "At Last" by Etta James is.
Yeah. That might have been the inauguration.
I
The
think it was.
first
It was some big
inauguration.
White House
Yeah.
event, but I mean, Beyonce's Beyonce for a reason. But yeah, that quality and that ability to do that is what makes great artists great. And yeah, I'm gonna save it because I am gonna do another song of the week with another song that does what we're talking about. It brings it out of me because those are the songs like Dirty Peaches. You asked to go all the way back to circle this back. We were talking at the beginning of this about songs we listen to in the car, right? And things that we can
Yeah.
kind of vibe with and get with. Dirty Peaches to me is not a car song, but it's also a song that I need to listen to every couple of months because I feel like it grounds me and I feel like it kind of helps me get back into myself, and feel the feelings that I need to so I can go, live the rest of my life. And it's hard to put a value on a song like that. It's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, if nobody's listening, and I'll also say we talked in the beginning about albums versus individual songs. Just go listen to Dirty Peaches as a song because it's incredible. It's a standalone thing. I also really highly recommend listening through The Death of Adam. It's a really, really cool concept album and story that kind of unfolds throughout the entire thing. Highly recommend it. It still holds up all these years later.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a special episode right there of Song of the Week. Covered quite a few topics there, a little bit longer than we usually go, but I think that's what we want, right? We want to have good conversation about music and emotions and all of those things, right?
Yes.
If you've been watching the channel and checking us out, and you'll learn more about David and myself and Bill. But I feel comfortable speaking for you on this one. Me and David can be big softies. We can
No
get
doubt
deep.
about it.
We can be emotional, and
Yeah.
we can take it to those places. So I like it, man. Those are two quality songs to add to the playlist.
Check them out. And as always, we are softies, no doubt about it. But there's a lot of power in opening yourself up to things like that, right? And like you and I both come from playing sports our whole life. We come from being in environments where oftentimes not being that way is kind of what's encouraged or what's supported. But the older I've gotten, the more I've lived life, I've kind of found that the more you soften the lens, right? The more you let the world come at you, not through a pigeonhole, but wash over you, and you can kind of then find what you like in it. That's where the joy is. That's where the happiness is, and that's where the connection is, and that's where you get to meet lifelong friends and people that become family to you because you can bond over things like this because they're that important. They're that meaningful to us as people. So yeah, this was a great one, man. Jordan, it's always a pleasure, but this was especially a fun one for sure.
For sure. I'm not going to say anything else, man. I think that's a good note to end on. This is Song of the Week. My name is Jordan. The other guy is my guy, David. Until next time, we're out of here. Peace.
Big love, everybody.